I remember the first time my brother came home, right? He thought he'd done something that got him in trouble. It were hilarious. Me and my sister and my mum, we all like to stand there and look with serious faces while he talked to us, and this deep sense of remorse in his eyes about the apple what he'd nicked from his mate's lunch. He looked absolutely gutted, but not that he'd been caught for it, right? But that he'd done it and that he'd upset his mate. He was a good man. He was a good man. That's why it was such a shock when he got in with that bunch from around the corner, and their language started to change and his clothing started to change, and he dropped out of the school he was all in, and for long he weren't my brother no more. He wasn't the man that I knew he was inside him, really. He was a good man. My sister couldn't take it. I think the turning point for her was when my brother was 15. It was the middle of a massive argument, and he'd punched my mum on the shoulder that before dinner, and Mum had just stood there holding herself, the potatoes like all over the floor, and everyone was eerily silent except my sister. She was screaming blue murder. She was pointing at him. She was shoving him, and I could see it in his eyes. I could see he was as shocked as any of us, and I could see that look of regret and apology as she backed him out of the house. He never came home again. If we dealt with it differently, would he have stayed? Was it right for my sister to be so forceful to defend my mum? I mean, can we ever go back and change anything? That was a marker. After that, we only ever heard about him when things had gone from bad to worse. Another run-in with the guards, or another person saying that it was him what robbed this place or that place. And then he turned up at our house begging us to hide him. We didn't know what he'd done, and Mum was all like, you stay at this house until you're ready to live like the family lives. So we kept him on a doorstep, and then behind him, while he was still at the front door, these guards came and with their swords and clubs and spears, and I'd got kids by this point, and so we let them have him. We just let them have him. We literally gave him away. We didn't fight for him or nothing. There's 3 executions that day. Some other bloke and my brother, and that guy they called Jesus, the holy man from way up north, Galilee. So we stood there on that Skull Hill, helpless, as the brother that I still loved was laid on the floor. Nails were driven through his hands and his feet, and I can still hear now the hammering of the nails, and my brother crying for help. And the loudest sound of all was the sound of my own head, the own arguments and the reasons and the memories and regrets, and me choking back tears. And this was not an ordinary group of people. 3 hours they hung there. Even though it's the middle of the day, it got darker and darker and darker, like the sun had given up its light. There was people who had come to throw insults at the preacher man who was there. They hurled abuse at him, something about being able to rebuild a temple in 3 days or something like that. And they shook their heads and they spat at him. It made me ashamed to have been connected with them as religious leaders. In my own grief, my own anger, I wanted to tell them to stop. I wanted them to leave us in peace. Under my breath, I uttered this feeble, helpless prayer. Lord, would you help my brother? And the other guy on the cross, he joins in. He goes, if you're really this liberator we've been waiting for, then prove it by saving yourself and us too while you're at it. It was like he'd got this whole conversation going on in his head. But my brother answered it. It was the first words that my brother had spoken. I felt my spirit lift. I tried to move in closer as he said, what's wrong with you? Don't you fear God even now, hung on this cross? He turned his pain-filled eyes to look at me. He locked his gaze on me. And he said, you and me, we deserve death for what we've done. This man here, he's done nothing. Without realising what I was doing, I found myself reaching out towards him, even though I was way behind the line where the guards had set up. I saw his aching face turn from me to the holy man, and he answered him with some of his last breath. He said to Jesus, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom? Yeah, his name was Jesus, of course it was. My brother knew it. So what was that then? Had they met? Had they talked? Had he been following Jesus? Or did they just meet on the way to the cross? Because there was criminals together. I mean, why was he reaching out now? What could Jesus possibly do now? But Jesus turned to him and he replied, truly I tell you this, he said, today you will be with me in paradise. And through his torment, I know on my brother, I saw this peace come across his face. I saw peace. Felt like I'd lost my brother and then found him again all at the same time. Like I hadn't known him and maybe I did know him, or I'd seen him and maybe not ever seen him. And these words of Jesus, they'd taken away all his pain and healed his grief. What did it mean? After it all, I fumblingly tried to share what happened with my family, like I'm trying to do with you now. And Jesus, the holy man, he'd been able to speak peace and forgiveness and welcome into eternity. He'd spoken as if he had the power to be the gatekeeper for heaven itself. It's like, if he could do that, then maybe we could start to forgive my brother and all. If we can forgive him, there was a chance that we might even be able to forgive ourselves too. He's my brother. He's my brother. And Jesus had spoken some of his final words as words of forgiveness and grace to him.